When you hear the word Afghanistan, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For a lot of us, it's probably the last 40 years or so of conflict. But here's the thing, that's like reading the very last page of a massive epic novel. The real story of this land is absolutely sprawling, stretching back over 30,000 years.
So that's the big challenge for us today, right? How in the world do you condense a 30,000-year history into just a few minutes? It sounds kind of nuts, but you know what? Let's give it a shot. So to do this, we've got to go way, way back. Because long before there were any modern nations or borders, this piece of land was a fundamental crossroads for pretty much all of human civilization. The timescale here is just mind-boggling. I mean, we're talking about hunters in caves 35,000 years ago. Then you get the dawn of farming communities. And get this, by 3000 BC, this region was already a key hub in a global network, with trade routes linking it to the great civilizations in Mesopotamia and Egypt. And if you want proof of just how connected it was, look no further than this. Archaeologists have found lapis lazuli, this beautiful blue stone that you can only find in the Badakhshan region of Afghanistan, buried in the tombs of Egyptian pharaohs. This wasn't some isolated place. It was literally providing the treasure for the most powerful rulers on Earth.
Now, you know what happens when a place is that central and that wealthy, right? It becomes a target. And that really defines the next chapter of its story. This land became a kind of crucible, where empire after empire would clash, conquer, and leave its mark.
First up, the massive Persian Achaemenid Empire rolls in during the 6th century BC. They brought organized government and, maybe most importantly for this dry land, this incredible irrigation system called the Kairis. These were super clever underground tunnels for water, and believe it or not, some are still used today.
Next on the world stage, Alexander the Great. He marches through in 330 BC. But he wasn't just about conquering. He was a builder. He set up these new Greek-style cities, like Alexandria Oxiana, creating this amazing cultural fusion by bringing in Greek language, philosophy, and art that would linger for centuries.
After the Greeks, you get the Kushan Empire, and this is where that whole cultural mixing thing just goes into overdrive. The Kushans were masters at blending Greek, Indian, and local traditions into something totally new and vibrant. You can really see it in the art from that time, these stunning statues of Buddha that look like they could have been carved by an ancient Greek sculptor. It's just wild. And then, the 7th century. The Arab conquests arrive, and with them comes the most profound change of all, Islam. And look, this wasn't just another empire taking over. This was a whole new faith that would fundamentally reshape the region's identity forever.
And to cap off our whirlwind tour of ancient empires, you have the Mongol invasions in the 13th century. They brought unbelievable destruction for sure, but in doing so, they also kind of wiped the slate clean, completely redrawing the political map of Central Asia and setting the stage for the world to come.
Okay, let's fast forward a bit. We're jumping from these ancient empires into a much more modern conflict, a different kind of pressure cooker known as the Great Game.
So, picture this. In the 19th century, Afghanistan is basically stuck between a rock and a hard place. Or, more accurately, between two giant expanding empires. You've got the British Empire pushing up from India trying to protect its border, and you've got the Russian Empire pushing down from the north trying to expand its own turf. And Afghanistan is stuck right in the middle.
And all of this pressure squeezed Afghanistan into this very specific role, a buffer state. Basically a neutral zone meant to keep these two huge hostile powers from starting a war with each other. I mean, what a tough spot to be in, right? It was a precarious position that would define the country's destiny for a long, long time.
So all this pressure from the outside, it helped create this really intense and often violent dynamic on the inside, a kind of repeating pattern that pretty much defined the 20th century, a constant cycle of reform and resistance.
And you see the same story play out over and over and over. It's almost like a four-step dance. First, a new, ambitious ruler comes to power with big ideas about modernizing the country. Second, they announce all these sweeping changes, new schools, new laws. But then, third, they hit a wall of fierce resistance, especially from more traditional, rural parts of the country. And fourth, that resistance would bubble up, destabilize everything, and often bring the whole government crashing down.
And listen, it's really important to get this. This wasn't just some simple story of old versus new. A lot of the time, it came down to cold, hard cash. This quote about one ruler's reforms says it all. The toiling people protested against the mounting burden of taxes.
These big modernizing projects cost a ton of money. And guess who had to pay for it? The everyday person.
So this cycle, monarchy, reform, resistance, collapse, it just kept spinning and spinning. Until this year, 1978. And in 1978, everything changed.
This was the year of the April Revolution. And this wasn't just another turn of the wheel. This was a political earthquake that didn't just stop the cycle, it completely shattered it, kicking off a brand new and very radical era.
The People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, a Marxist party, seized power. And their plans were, well, they were revolutionary. I mean, just look at this list. Get rid of feudalism, massive land reform, guarantee democratic rights, solve the country's complex ethnic divisions. This wasn't just tinkering around the edges. This was a full-on attempt to remake the entire country from the ground up.
Okay, so here's a crucial bit of context. The source material we're drawing from for all this was written in 1985, right in the thick of the Soviet-Afghan War. From that perspective, this revolution seemed like the destination, the culmination of all that history. But that just leaves us hanging with this huge question, doesn't it? Knowing everything we know now, what new crossroads and what new, brutal crucibles of empire were waiting just over that 1985 horizon?